In the winter of 1959, 10 experienced hikers, mostly students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, set out on a challenging expedition into the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. Their goal was to reach Odortin Mountain, a trek classified as a Category 3, the most difficult for that season. Led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, the group was skilled, spirited, and ready for adventure. They documented their journey with diaries and cameras, capturing moments of camaraderie and the stark, frozen beauty of their surroundings. Little did they know, their journey would become one of the most chilling and enduring mysteries of the 20th century. One member, Yuri Yudin, turned back early due to illness, a decision that would ultimately save his life. The remaining 9 pressed on, venturing into the vast, unforgiving wilderness. On February 1st, deteriorating weather conditions, including a blizzard and plummeting temperatures, forced the group off their planned route. They ended up on the slopes of a mountain known as Kolotsiakal, which translates from the local Mansi language as Dead Mountain. It was here they decided to make camp for the night, a fatal decision made under extreme pressure. Their last photographs show them digging into the snow to pitch their tent, battling the fierce wind. They were scheduled to send a telegram from their destination by February 12th. When that date came and went with no word, concern began to grow. A search party was assembled, but what they would eventually find was far more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. On February 26th, the search team discovered the hikers' abandoned tent. It was badly damaged and, perplexingly, had been sliced open from the inside. It was clear the group had fled in a hurry, leaving behind their coats, shoes, and all their supplies in sub-zero temperatures. Leading away from the tent were sets of footprints, some from bare feet, some with only socks, heading down the slope towards a nearby forest. It was a scene of pure panic. Why would seasoned hikers cut their way out of their only shelter and run into a deadly blizzard so unprepared? This was the first deeply unsettling question in a long chain of bizarre discoveries that would follow. The first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonashenko and Yuri Doroshenko, were found under a large cedar tree about a mile from the camp. They were dressed only in their underwear. Nearby were the remnants of a small fire. It seemed they had desperately tried to stay warm. The branches of the cedar tree were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting someone had tried to climb it, perhaps to get a better view of the camp or to escape from something. A short distance away, 3 more bodies were discovered: Igor Dyatlov, Zenata Komogorova, and Rustam Slobodin. They were found at separate points between the cedar tree and the camp, their positions suggesting they had been trying to return to the tent. The scene was tragic, but the initial cause of death for all 5 was ruled as hypothermia. The real horror was yet to be unearthed. It took more than 2 months for the remaining 4 hikers to be found. In May, as the snow began to melt, their bodies were discovered in a ravine, buried under 4 meters of snow, about 75 meters from the cedar tree. And this is where the mystery deepens into something truly terrifying. Unlike the first 5, these hikers had suffered massive internal injuries. Lyudmila Dubanina and Semyon Zolotaryev had crushed chests, with fractures similar to those caused by a major car crash. Nikolai Thibobrignol had a fractured skull. Yet bizarrely, there were no corresponding external wounds. Even stranger, Dubanina was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lip. Zolotaryev was missing his eyes. The last hiker, Alexander Kolevatov, had no major injuries besides those common with hypothermia. What could have inflicted such catastrophic, yet selective, internal trauma? The official Soviet investigation concluded that the hikers died from a compelling natural force. The case was abruptly closed, and the files were classified. For decades, the area around Kolotsiakal was off-limits to tourists and investigators. This secrecy, combined with the bizarre evidence, fueled a firestorm of speculation. Theories ranged from the plausible to the paranormal. One of the most common early theories was an attack by the local Mansi people, resentful of the hikers encroaching on their land. However, the investigation found no evidence of other people being present, and the nature of the injuries didn't align with the human attack. This theory was quickly dismissed by the lead investigator himself. Another prominent theory involves a slab avalanche. Proponents suggest that a slab of snow slid down onto the tent, causing the hikers to panic, cut their way out, and flee. The internal injuries could have been caused by the crushing weight of the snow. While this explains the panic and some of the injuries, it has its own problems. The campsite wasn't on a particularly steep slope, and investigators at the time found no signs of an avalanche. Furthermore, why would the hikers run downhill, away from their supplies, instead of digging them out? And it doesn't explain the missing soft tissues or other strange findings. In 2021, a new study using advanced modeling suggested a small, delayed slab avalanche could be a plausible trigger, but it remains a debated topic among researchers. Then we enter the realm of more unusual explanations. Was it a military weapons test gone wrong? The area was rumored to be used for secret Soviet military exercises. Some reports from other locals mentioned seeing strange orange spheres or lights in the sky around the time of the incident. This theory suggests the hikers may have been accidentally killed by a concussive blast from a parachute, mine, or another experimental weapon, which could explain the powerful internal injuries without external signs of impact. Some of the hikers' clothing was also found to be slightly radioactive, though the levels were low and could have had an environmental source. This theory, however, lacks any official confirmation and relies heavily on circumstantial evidence and hearsay. Finally, there are the more fringe, but persistent, theories. From infrasound-induced panic, caused by a specific wind pattern called a Kármán vortex street, to an encounter with an unknown creature like a Yeti, or even extraterrestrial involvement. The infrasound theory suggests that low-frequency sound waves, inaudible to the human ear, could have created intense feelings of nausea, panic, and dread, causing the group to flee their tent irrationally. While scientifically interesting, it's hard to prove and doesn't fully account for the severe physical trauma. The more outlandish theories, while captivating, lack any credible evidence but persist, because the known facts are just so strange that they seem to defy a simple, rational explanation. 60 years after the tragedy, in 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case. Their investigation focused on natural phenomena, examining theories like an avalanche, a snow slab, or a hurricane. Their final conclusion, announced in 2020, was that an avalanche was the most likely cause, forcing the group from their tent. Poor visibility then caused them to get lost, and they ultimately froze to death. They dismissed the criminal and military theories. However, this conclusion hasn't satisfied everyone. It leaves many questions unanswered. The precise nature of the devastating internal injuries, the missing tongue and eyes, the radioactive traces, and why experienced hikers would make such basic survival errors. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains a haunting enigma, a chilling tale of 9 lives lost in the icy grip of the Ural Mountains. The mystery endures, not because of a lack of theories, but because no single theory can satisfyingly explain all the bizarre, terrifying pieces of this tragic puzzle. Thanks for watching. If you find these kinds of mysteries as fascinating as I do, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the unknown.